Hey YouTube, it's your boy Widgie here, coming out with some more strategy games with AOE3TE, and today I'm giving you some more Inca content for you. And this is kind of an insane game because I actually managed to defeat my nemesis on the 1v1 ranked ladder, and that is the Spanish opponent that I tried to beat on a few videos ago that I put on my channel. So if you haven't seen that video, the video is titled something like "Why Can't I Beat This Guy?" and I was playing as the Chinese, and I think I played him about 3 times in a row and I just couldn't beat him. You know, he went a classic sort of Rodelero with Lancer with Falk, and it was just horrendous. So I hope you guys really enjoy this. I switch it up, I play the Inca, and we have a little bit more luck in this game, but it is a absolute nail biter. So I hope you really enjoy it. As I say, if you find this video entertaining and many others on my channel, please feel free to drop a like, and you can also catch me streaming on Twitch at Widgie1. Let's do this. Right guys, we're going to be doing a replay run through of this game, so I probably didn't mention that at the start of the video, but this was a game that I played offline, and of course it's against FrankDux, who is this Spanish player that I could not defeat as the Chinese. So we're going to be playing as the Inca, and we're going to see if we have any better luck with it. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and click that play button. Let's jump straight into it. I'm going to keep the view lock on, and I'm going to just have the whole map available. And I'm sort of just going to give you a little rundown of the sort of build that I'm doing with the Inca at the moment. So I've only played maybe 10 games max as the Inca so far. And they just come really naturally to me, like the whole opening style and going with the cancha houses and stuff like that. So I tend to go quite a greedy opening and try and build as many cancha houses as possible in Age 2. I know that there are other builds where you can do like a semi-FF style and you don't really build, you only build like one cancha house, and then you just focus on getting 5 spearmen out, and then you go ahead and get your 1200 food, your 300 gold, and then you go ahead and get your 700 gold to get your age up. So there are other ways of playing Inca, of course, and there's a native rush that you can do with them. They're quite versatile, and there's many options you can do, but I like to go this sort of Age 2 sort of stance first. So it's more like a timing attack. It's like an Age 2 timing attack. And if it fails, then you've got all the cancha houses that produce food for you to fall back on if you need to. And then you can always get into Age 3 if you don't think it's going very well. So you can see here, I'm playing against FrankDux, of course, the Spanish player that I've probably played about 4 or 5 times now on the ladder, and I've never beaten him. So, you know, he's a real tricky player. And we are going to obviously open up classic Inca style, which is going for the big button at the cancha, which is the Queen's Festival. And that requires 180 food, 180 wood, 180 gold, and that will get you 4 villagers. So we're just going to start with that. And you can see my Mongol scout here is getting a little bit tagged there by the explorer from Frank and the dog. Obviously, you know, the Spanish have the dogs as well, which can be really, really powerful, help them get treasures quite quickly. So I was very nervous when I knew that it was FrankDux because, you know, I played him a few times, and I was feeling pretty confident. Feeling pretty confident. So the first card we're going to be going for here is the exotic hardwoods. Now this is kind of unusual because a lot of people are probably going to say that the 2 llamas is better. I'm not too sure what's better, to be honest. I think if you want to go more greedy, I think maybe the exotic hardwoods is better. If you want to age up quicker and you want to have that excess food to be able to get 5 spearmen out early when you get into Age 2, then I think going for the 2 llama is the way forward. And I think the majority of people do go 2 llamas rather than the hardwood. But I've just been going exotic hardwood, and it's a 20% increase to wood cutting or to the wood gather rate. And that's really crucial because, you know, if I want to build all my cancha houses in Age 2, and also I'm going to need, you know, wood for military and for a market and, you know, for potential trade posts, you know, I'm going to need an increase in gather rate for wood. So that's what I decided to go for. And I think it was one of my followers actually mentioned it to me and said, just put exotic hardwoods in and see what happens. And I didn't believe him. And I thought it wouldn't really make much difference, but I don't know whether it's just coincidence. But, you know, ever since he said that, I think I've gone 5 games on the 1v1 ladder, and I haven't lost a game yet playing as Inca. It's kind of crazy, absolutely insane. Very similar to how I was when I was playing China, sort of just completely going out of nowhere and deciding to play a new civ and winning tons of games in a row, and it is kind of crazy feeling when you find that civ that sort of clicks and you like them. So yeah, so anyway, we're getting into age 2 now. Of course, we're going with the 2 building travois card, which is known as the chief. We're going to use these 2 to build 2 war huts, which is the barracks equivalent essentially, and they have an ability where you can actually garrison troops in it and villagers, and they obviously fire at enemies as well. And the majority of vills, pretty much all of them apart from a couple, you want to move over to wood, because what you want to do in transition, if you have the availability to build a trading post, you want to build a trading post, you want to go for it. So that's exactly what we're doing right here. We are just going to turn the fog of war off. So you can see here, I'm just using the Mongol Scout, just seeing what trading posts Frank has taken here. And he's taken the 2 in the middle, which is very standard for Spanish to take trading posts early as well. So I decided to secure the one on the left there. And that's all you really need to do in transition. And you can see I've moved a couple off of wood onto food. And the reason I've done this is because so let me just pause it very quickly. So I wanted to get 5 spearmen out early. And one way of doing that is using the big button on your town centre, which is 600 food, and that gets you 5 plumed spearmen. So it's a really, really nice button to use. However, I didn't age up with the llamas, so I didn't have that excess food lying around. So I decided to peel a couple of the villagers from wood back onto food, so that we can try and have some food available when we get into age 2 to be able to get some early spearmen. So you can see here that I'm just starting to build cancher houses. And there's many ways that you can build these houses. A lot of people will still go for like a complete circle around the TC. So you're playing very defensive. Some people will have them even closer to the TC. Like if you're booming, for example, you want quite a tight sort of defensive formation. I tend to be quite aggressive, and I tend to try and push out as much as I can and secure as much of the map as possible. I think that's really crucial playing as Inca. I mean, there's many play styles, but the kind of play style that I go for is I want to try and spread across the map as much as I can. Very similar to how I play China, trying to secure as many hunts and gold mines as possible. And that's kind of my plan here. So you can see I'm putting a cancher house out there to the north near that gold mine, just sort of getting extra vision as well, making sure that I'm not going to get raided or anything like that. You can see here my explorer's in a little bit of a spot of bother here. But I'm hoping to get these plumed spearmen out of this trading post here, because with the tampos, you can receive unit shipments from it. You can set your home city shipment point from your tampo, which is your TP. And they do have an attack as well, I'm pretty sure the Tampo does. Yes, Tampo has a very, very, very small ranged attack, but you can get that upgraded with a card. So there's my 5 plumed spearmen. They're going to provide a hefty amount of siege damage, so they can start taking down those TPs and just keeping Frank in check there. We don't want him to take the entire TP line, so we are going to challenge him. That's exactly what we're doing right here. He has obviously gone for the ATP, which is the advanced trading post, so it's high HP and it's able to shoot as well. So the next card we're getting out is a 600 wood, and once again this is just going to help with the wood. We really need that wood in there so we can try and get as many cancher houses. The max cancher houses you can get is 13. Unlucky number, so you'll always remember that. 13 cancher houses. And pretty much the minute you've secured maybe 11 of them, 10, 11 of those canchers, you want to then just have at the back of your head that you want to probably start creating a few troops. You can see here that I haven't created any. There you go. There's my first troops that I've created at 6 minutes 30. And you can see here that I'm successfully going to take down that TP, which is nice. And I have another cancher house going down. So if I take view lock off. So that's a total of 9 cancher houses right now that I've got. And I'm starting to make some troops. So I'm a little bit early with making them. I think it's just because I'm a little bit nervous because, I played this guy 3 or 4 times and lost. And I was just sort of weary of him potentially rushing me. But I should have remembered that FrankDux, this guy, he loves to sort of go the same sort of composition and build order every game. And he will pretty much go for a fast fortress. He'll get his double falconer and then he'll just start creating Redeleros and he'll get his lancers from his TC, his home city shipment. So we can see here that now I'm getting the Chinchabrewing, which is going to increase the gather rate from the canchas by 50%. I mean, I would honestly only really recommend doing this once you've got all your canchas. So you can see that I've only built 10 in total. But I do have excess wood here, so I know I'm going to build the other 3 very shortly. But that's just something to bear in mind, you know. So I've got 12 now placed down. I just need to place the 3rd one down. So just bear that in mind. I was a little bit hasty with that. Maybe I should have left that until I actually had 13 canchas. But instead I didn't. So we are getting some jungle bowmen here because I'm anticipating that he's probably going to be going Rodelleros. I do see a TP, sorry, an outpost here, which suggests that he could be sending shipments with it. That's why he's placed it really far out here. And he's obviously gone for the politician that gives you 200 gold on an outpost, which is going to increase the speed at which he gets to age 3. So I'm expecting him to age up very shortly. If he's going fast fortress, it should be any minute now that he's aging up. And you can see here, if I switch over to Frank, you can see that, see, look, he's obviously he's spamming his Rodelleros, the classic sort of strat that he goes for here. Goes for an ATP and then pretty much goes fast fortress. He's actually secured a lot of yaks that I didn't really know about, and he's going for the Rodellero, of course, and he's now got the Sergeant at Arms that gives him the 8 pikemen. And he's immediately getting 2 Falcons first and 5 Lancers. That's kind of how this guy plays. I haven't really seen him play any other Civ, and he doesn't really deviate too much from how he plays. Which is, I mean, it's good that you sort of refine your build order, but I think you've also got to bear in mind that you need to adapt. You need to adapt to the type of map you're on, to the type of Civ you're playing against. So it's not always best to go the same sort of composition, unless it is super powerful. And it's really, really good. I wouldn't suggest always just going for the same thing. You can see here, I don't know how he spotted me here. You know, I'm really, like, I don't know how he actually spotted me. It must have been the outpost. Yeah, my outpost spotted the chinchas, the chimus, sorry. And you can see here that I have a significant amount of spearmen here. But I've got to be careful here because I've noticed now that the 2 Falcons are out, so I'm just going to back off those spearmen. And I do not want to lose too many units. And I'm going to see here, because I know that his Rodelleros were slightly out of position, so I was going to try and see if I could clip them. And unfortunately, I don't know, I got a couple of hits on it, and then I just ran away. So that's a clear example there of a fight that you shouldn't really take. You know, I was going to lose all those Rodelleros, sorry, all those Chimmy runners if I did commit to that. So the next card that I'm going for here is going to be the Kura, which increases the poison damage by 25%. It's soak the arrows in Kura to double the poison's duration of effect and increase its damage. So it's going to increase by 25% and increase the duration of that poison. So it's a dot, essentially. That's what they call it in MMOs, a dot, a damage over time. And that's exactly what it is. So it really increases the dot of the attack, the poison effect. And you can see here, if I just quickly pause, I'll show you what cards I've gone for so far. So I went for the hardwoods. I then went ahead and got the Chinchabrewing, probably quite early there. Sorry, no, I went for the 600 wood. Then I got the Chinchabrewing, which was a little bit early. And then went ahead and got the 6 Chimmy Runners and the 5 Plume Spearmen, and then I went ahead and got the Kura or Kura. And there's probably other ways that I could have done that, potentially. You know, we are seeing quite a scary push here. I'm in age 2, just bear that in mind. Inca in age 2 aren't too bad, though, to be honest. They're not terribly weak because you do have some relatively strong units still. So, you know, he's sort of just showing me his force there. You know, majority of the force are Spearmen and Rodelleros, and then you've got a few Lancers. And you can see here that I'm sort of just training like Spearmen and Chimu, you know, because I'm anticipating that he's going to have some Lancers. And I'm going to need a few Spearmen there to really take out those Lancers quickly. So, and you can see now that I'm thinking about aging up. I'm starting to move more over to food. The Chinchabrewing is really helping me here. I mean, my food is soaring. But I'm still creating jungle bowmen. I thought I was going to start to age up here, but I'm still making units. So I'm starting to feel a little bit confident. Maybe I could try and force a fight in age 2 against him. My score difference isn't too bad. You know, maybe a 1500 there difference. And now I've gone for the 700 coin. So I'm going to start thinking about potentially aging up. I do have the fast age up option, and that's the one I will be going for. And you can see here, I've got a relatively decent force here. You know, he's got a lot of Rodello. I need to keep away from the Rodelleros for the Chimus will definitely get taken out by the Rodelleros, so we need to be careful. This is kind of a little poor engagement here, but I did do a nice switch, and the Spearmen are straight there, ready to take out the Lancers, and I managed to get the Chimus just in there to take both Falcons down, which is a really nice engagement. And you can see here that he's going to lose. He's going to lose majority of his Lancers here, and all he's left with is one Falc and a few Rodelleros, and I'm just going to use those Spearmen there to essentially take out that cannon there. And that's, yeah, that went quite well for me there. I mean, I probably should get these Spearmen out. There's still 5 of them left. I should definitely get them out because there's some more pikemen coming. And I'm just going to use the jungle bowmen here to sort of kite a little bit. Take a few more pot shots, just run them back. And quite a nice engagement there. And you see that I'm still creating units. I probably at this point, I could probably just have not done that and just gone straight into age 3 at this point. Because that was a very successful engagement. I'm not going to really anticipate Frank really pushing out much more at the moment. He does still have 4 Lancers left, majority of Rodelleros, and now you see me pushing again, just starting to pressurize and poke and just annoy him and keep him in his base so he doesn't really move out anywhere else. I'm going to try and siege that house there. Probably not going to get it, but it's always nice to try. Just picking off constantly. And you can see here that now I'm ahead in score because I had quite a favourable fight there, and I've got a lot more jungle bowmen. That's actually quite scary for an opponent to see that sheer number. And you can see I'm getting another card out here, 6 jungle bowmen, and now I'm finally getting into the 3rd age, which is the quick age up. And this is what I sort of suggest if you play Inca. If you do the sort of strategy that I do here, if you have a decent amount of force, and you sort of turtle in the early stage, so in the early stages of age 2, you start building your canches, you play quite defensively. Once you secure your economy, and then you start building some troops, and you start getting there, when you take a fight and it's favourable, at that point, I'd either ask yourself, right, can I finish this game, or do I need to just retreat back and get into age 3? And that's exactly what I suggest you do. Whenever you take a real good fight, and you deplete most of your enemy's forces, always ask yourself, like, can I go back an age, or shall I just continue and win the game? The reason that I went back is because he was in age 3, and of course he's got access to way better cards than me. You know, he's getting XP a lot quicker as well, and yeah, that's why I went back and aged up. But you see here, I'm just doing a good job at just picking off villagers wherever I can, taking a few houses down, getting some extra XP, making a hassle. See, look, I'm trying to just annoy him. He's on 30 vills at the moment. I'm on 33. So we do have more vills, and we've got the cancer houses. So our economy is looking pretty good. I've now aged up, and I'm immediately going for the spearman upgrade and the jungle bowman upgrade. That's what we're doing. I think that's probably the best composition against Frank here, because, as I say, he normally goes for Rodelleros and Lancers, so I'm pretty much going to need bowmen and spearmen to be able to deal with this composition. And of course, if he's got a few Falcons, I might need a few Chimus to raid. But it's great knowing that jungle bowmen, I didn't even know this. I thought the spearmen cost coin, but they cost wood. I didn't even realise that until earlier today. So it's only the Chimu runners that actually cost food and gold. So if you have a decent food and wood economy, then your spearmen and bowmen will really help. And this is where the exotic hardwoods really helps, because that extra 20% will go a long way throughout the entire game. And it is interesting. I still don't know what's the best, whether to go for the llamas or whether to go for the exotic hardwoods. I'm not entirely sure. So you can see here now I'm just starting to get even more plumed spearmen. And you can see the sort of the style of my base here is sort of just really making like a frontier here. So really putting across all the canchers, nestling the 2 war huts here so they're sort of defended, and having a couple on this area here just in case I need to do some mining here. I mean, you can't garrison in these canchers, but it's just nice to have a few buildings around so you can use it to block if you are trying to get raided and stuff like that. It's just to have a bit of presence and a bit of vision on the map. You know, you can see here if I look at my vision compared to Frank's, see his vision, because he's in a very sort of tight-knit base here. He's only got the vision of some of his trading posts at the top here. And then if I go over to myself, you see I've got more of an expanse here. I have more of an idea of what's going on in my base and if there's any potential raids. So here we go here. So my majority, I've got 21 bowmen here, but I do have 15 spearmen. So he needs to be careful because, you know, that is going to do some serious damage. You know, like 48 damage per swipe to the lancers. And we see some more spearmen coming out as well. And of course, they're really good against siege. And this is going to be an interesting fight here. We're in a little bit of a tricky situation here. Now, before we carry on here, this was a really poor engagement. Okay, so number 1, we're under TC fire. So that doesn't help. Okay, that TC fire is doing 90 damage per pop. That is going to be like 1 and 2 shotting certain units. Most likely 2 shotting units, so that's not good. And the way this fight happened here, really, really poor. I sort of got both my bowmen stuck, so they couldn't actually fire at all, so they had to just melee. I'm trying to micro my spearmen so that I can get them on the lancers. But I do take a really poor engagement here. But my spearmen do actually do more damage than the Redeleros. Just gotta have that there. So I think the plumed spearmen still do better overall compared to the Redeleros. I mean, they have 162 HP. I've got 212 and 16 damage. So I think the plumed spearmen are still better than Redeleros overall. So our next card is, because of that poor fight we had, I'm anticipating some sort of like counter offensive. So I'm gonna get the Machu Picchu card, which is gonna give me the Stronghold. Which is a really, really amazing building that you can garrison all of your units into. It increases the attack that it does, and you can do some kind of funky sort of micro with this. You can garrison, ungarrison, garrison, ungarrison if you're in tricky positions, and you can also, with a card, make this stealthed and invisible, which is kind of crazy. And I don't actually have that card in this deck, but there is an option that you can do that. I am building a third war hut here. So we're just making sure that we're more defensive. You've got to bear in mind, these buildings do range damage as well. Just really bear that in mind. They do bonus to cav, which is very good for us. And you can see here that they just do a base damage pretty much. And you can see here my macro is a little bit off. We've got quite a lot of gold here. So we're probably going to want to move some over to food and potentially start expanding, maybe get a couple more TCs. And the next card I'm going for, or I was going to go for the ranged infantry attack upgrade. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go for the 2 TC. That's exactly what I said. So I'm going to start booming a little bit here. And I'm going to start trying to spend some of my resources and spend some of my wood. I definitely need to spend my gold. I mean, it's 1,500. But I mean, look how quickly we've remassed, you know. We've got 15 spearmen back again, 15 bowmen. And let's have a look at Frank here. So Frank's got 16 lancers and just going for pretty much all of the Redeleros. So Redeleros are just not as good as spearmen. And he is actually going to do quite a nice thing here. He's going to pressurize my TC with a few pikemen. So that was quite nice of him. I did like that. That did annoy me quite a bit. And you can you see what I'm saying about pushing out? Like I'm starting to push out and putting another war hut down. Remember, when we're at this stage and we're chopping so much wood, we can afford to spend some of the wood on some war huts, definitely to secure some hunts and to secure some mines. And that's exactly what I'm doing right here. So I'm pushing this one out even further so I can get this hunt, so it's safe, and also this potential, this silver mine here maybe. And you can see I've got 2 town centre travoirs here, 2 TC travoirs just doing nothing. I will notice them in a minute. But That's a really good card. I really recommend this card if you want to stay in Age 2. The Huanca support is amazing. 250 gold and you get a TC Travois and a building Travois. And, you know, it makes all buildings built faster. Yeah, you can build them a lot quicker. And you get an extra TC. So you have 2 TCs in Age 2, which is pretty crazy. You know, the only other civ that can do that really is Ports. And I'm pretty sure some of the other native civs. I can't remember. But I know that Ports are one of the main ones that will have 2 TCs in Age 2. But it means that if you do need to fight in Age 2 and you do need some extra eco and you want to make villagers quicker, then that Huanca support is definitely there. And you can use the building Travois to build another TP. You don't have to build a war hut with it. So you can see here that the town Travois is now going down to the north, and there's one going down to the south here. So I'm once again, I'm just pushing out, really trying to push out and squeeze Frank here so that he doesn't really escape. I am using a few Chimu runners here just to sort of scout around, see what sort of army composition he's got, how big his army is. You know, and I can see here that, yeah, he's got quite a few lancers. Just 8 Chimus, and I can see even more lancers. So I see that, and I'm just basically, look, you can see I'm just queuing tons of spearmen. You know, I'm really anticipating a ton of pressure from Frank here. So let's have a look. I've got 42 vills. He's got 40, so he's actually caught me up. But he does have, I completely forget about this, he actually has 4 TP lines with Stagecoach, which is crazy. And he's now getting into Age 4, so like his eco is pretty crazy because of those TP lines. I probably should have pressurized them and used some spearmen, definitely, to take some of those down because, yeah, that's not the best, is it? That's definitely something that I should have worked on there. I should have been a lot better at. We can see here we've got 30 spearmen, a few Chimus, and the rest are jungle bowmen. Quite a nice composition. And now I'm going to be getting the melee infantry combat, which is going to help the spearmen and the Chimus, which is really nice. And the war chief gets a little buff as well. And we're just going to keep constantly creating bowmen. We're not getting into Age 4. We are sticking in Age 3 here. I do have a ton of wood here, probably way too much. So, and I don't actually have anyone gold, I think, because I didn't even notice this gold mine here. And we do see now myself pushing out, and I do spot this fort wagon, which is really, really nice. And this was terrible. So he didn't spot this here. So he just moved his entire army, unfortunately, straight into my spearmen. And this is going to be real bad news for Frank here, because he is going to lose the majority of his lancers. Are all going to go there, and lancers are pretty expensive. And you can see just absolutely cleaning up. You've got the Rodellos are doing a nice job by taking out my Chimus, but I only have 8 Chimus, so it's not the end of the world. And you can see here that I've still got these spearmen, and as we know, spearmen will beat Rodellos pretty easily. And the bowmen, of course, supporting. And I'm just going to use my spearmen to basically just ignore the Rodellos and siege down this building. Because just remember, guys, when a building is being built, it takes quadruple damage, quadruple siege damage. So if you ever see something being built, take the opportunity to get it down. And that's exactly what we did here. And I see that he's got a few lancers, so I'm going to back off my bowmen here. But I'm going to put them in a way that, you know, minimizes the area effect. His lancers do an AoE, I think. I'm pretty sure they do. And he has got 2 more falconets have come out here. And he's got no gold. So Frank has absolutely no gold left. And I'm going to use those spearmen to finish off some of his lancers. And I just want to get the spearmen out of the falconet range. And you can see pretty much he's got those veteran Rodellos left. So that was an interesting engagement there. I think overall I probably won that engagement, definitely, because I took down the fort, so he lost his fort wagon. So he was definitely going to try and turtle a little bit. And I mean, this is kind of a bad decision by me here. Just walking them in. I've got the garrison a little bit too forward there, so I moved that back. And you can see here now that I've got way too much wood. Like 1,600 wood is crazy. So I've got majority of people off of wood now. And I'm moving a lot over to food. I mean, look how quick that food's coming in. Absolutely insane. 48 Vils. And now I've got my Chimus. And I'm starting to move my Bowman as well. I'm going to use the Chimus to try and flank around the right. See if we can catch those 2 Falconets. And, I mean, I should do okay here. I mean, I've got the Chimus. He's going to spot that. And it's not going to be enough. He's not going to have enough Redeleros to deal with all of this. And you can just see all of my Bowmen just going in there, doing real damage to the Redeleros. And clearing it up. And now we are 2k score ahead, and he's in H4. I'm still only in H3. And I'm just going to scout around a little bit there with the Chimu, see if there's any Vils. That's something that I always would suggest, is scouting around, seeing if there's any light sneaky Vils around the base that you can take down. The only downside here is I don't have a huge amount of siege. I don't have my Spearmen. So instead, I'm getting the Harukas, the Harukas or the Huracars, which are essentially the artillery unit for Inca. So I'm getting that card out, going to get 7 of those to help me. And I can see that he's got a heavy cannon there that he just peeled off. He's got 2 heavy cannons, but he's got no units left, and I've got Chimus. Oh, and that was a big mistake by me. I shouldn't have let that happen, but look at that. Some sort of quite straightforward micro for me there, moving the Bowman away out of range and making sure that the Chimus and the Spearmen tank the light cannons. And you can see now, I actually didn't even get market upgrades. Didn't even get hunting dogs or placer mines, so I'm getting those now. And look at that, I'm just creating all these Spearmen from 5 of my war huts that I've got. That's the TC going down eventually. We do have some Spearmen here helping out with the siege, which is nice. And if we take view lock off, if we have a look at Frank here. So Frank is obviously migrated a lot of his villagers over to here. He's building a barracks and the stables. And yeah, he hasn't got much here now left, to be honest. I mean, he's getting a lot of wood in for some reason. I'm not too sure why. Probably to build further infrastructure, maybe some walls. But you could see here that his plan in Age 4 was to try and go a little bit defensive. He was starting to wall here. He built a fort here. And, all I can sort of suggest to you guys is just try and be as active with your army as possible. Don't just let your army sit in your base for like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of the game. They're just providing no value. You've got to get them out there. You've got to get them poking around, doing something, make them useful. You can see here that he's trying to use a couple of lancers here to take out my Bowman, which is nice, but I am going to switch the Bowman, and then the Spearmen are going to come straight in here. Redeleros aren't really going to do much because the hand attack damage of an archer is about the same as a Redelero, even better. So they're not going to do much damage, and I've got more Spearmen coming in. And that's all the cav down. So at this point, I am ecstatic, I've played this guy, he's a good player. I played him, I think this must be the 4th game, and I've lost the previous 3 when I played as China. And I decided to give Inca a go, and it looked like it worked, which was absolutely amazing. And we do see that I've spotted that he's got TC here. I'm just trying to think what else he could have. He's starting to build a couple of houses here because he was probably pop capped. And my Chimus are coming in here just very briefly. I do see some Redeleros, so I do back off because there's no point in losing. There's no point getting too cocky and losing units. See, this was kind of just silly, really. I just sort of chucked these units away. Even though you think that you are going to win and you're super confident, don't just throw units away for the sake of it. I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, these Harukas, they aren't amazing. I'm going to be honest. I mean, their rate of fire is 3. And the Spearman's rate of fire is... Yeah, see, the Spearmen actually do more siege damage than the Harukas. Right? That's correct, isn't it? Yeah. So they're not really that good. I mean, the only good thing about them is that they're ranged. But most of the time, I will just stick with Spearmen to siege because they're pretty damn good. We see that another TC goes down. He's got all these vills here, and I'm going to try and clear them all up. And got a couple of Redeleros here, but it's not going to be enough. You can see I've got, and there's the game. There's game. And you can see here I've still got way too much gold. So what I kind of want to do here is just get ready maybe to go into age 4. You can see I'm just clearly not spending enough of my resources. I've got 53 vills, and I've got over 100 population for the military. And we can have a quick look at the post game here. So if we have a quick look, you can see village account. So I was slightly above him the whole game. I am notoriously bad for forgetting to create villages. So I did quite a good job in certain areas, but in certain parts I wasn't. Like here, for example. I mean, look at that. That's a whole. It's a whole nearly 2 minutes. I mean, this is even worse. All this time here not creating a villager. So I definitely need to still work on that. And if we have a look at military unit population, here we go. So we can see the trades here. So that was quite an even fight here. That was one of the first fights that we did. And this was sort of one of the... I mean, this one here was kind of brutal. This one here, 53 units. At that point, I didn't lose any. Well, no, I lost 4 units, 4 population, and he lost pretty much everything. So there was one of the deciding fights, and it scaled beyond that, and nearly 100 population there for military. So we were successful. If we take that off, you can see here he did have the whole TP line secured. So I mean, he had a very good, very strong economy with those 4 TPs with Stagecoach. Very, very nice. Well done. I should have definitely pressurized the TPs more and secured more of it. But you can see here that I'm building my 4th TC now. So I've got 5 war huts. I've got a stronghold here, and yeah, it's just crazy. You can really just completely replenish your army within a couple of minutes. It's kind of crazy with the amount of military buildings that you have. So there you go, guys. I hope you found this video really enjoyable, and I hope you actually try out Inca, because they are kind of crazy. So there you go, guys. That is another Inca video for you. So I hope you really enjoyed it. Playing against FrankDux, one of my biggest opponents, and this is the first win that I've had against him. So I think I've played a total of 4 games on the 1v1 ranked ladder against him. The first 3 games were as China, and this was my 4th game as Inca, and I secured the win, which is kind of insane. And this must have been maybe the 3rd or 4th game as playing Inca. So it's kind of crazy how it's sort of, a lot of it's come very natural to me. So that's definitely a good sign, and that means that Inca is definitely here to stay. So I know that I play China, and I'm definitely going to carry on playing Inca. So we've definitely secured myself 2 civs that I really, really like, and I'm going to keep playing them on the ladder. So I hope you guys can join me for that on Twitch at Witchy1 on whenever I stream, and also of course on YouTube. I'll be providing more content. So if you found this video awesome, guys, and if you learned something, please let me know in the comments below. If there's anything that I did wrong or any sort of improvements that you could think I could make, then please let me know. And also maybe that FrankDux, playing as the Spanish, please let me know in the comments below what he could have done better to potentially take this win from me and get the win for himself. And yeah, so I hope you really enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Catch you guys later.